All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring in Lawrence and Ron. Who's that Lawrence guy? Yeah. I decided to be formal this morning.
I thought my mother was
He is in trouble. And speaking in trouble, I'm just going to go ahead and hand the mic off to these guys and up to Ron.
Yes, I get it.
Please.
Here? It's me. Yeah. Woo!
It's you.
Okay, well, good, because I needed to get rid of that.
All right, so we have presented 2 times here before. We were here 3 years ago on about the 3rd or 4th edition of 1 Million Cups. Business has changed quite a bit for the positive, and we're here to give you an update today on what we're up to and what we're staying busy with. So let's get started. I became an entrepreneur personally about 12 years ago. I started a food delivery business called Just Dine In, where we delivered takeout food from restaurants to you at your home or your office. That business grew and grew. We merged. We merged with another company. We acquired businesses, and then we were acquired by a publicly traded company called Grubhub. And along that time, I learned all these different lessons about small business. But along the way, my passion has always been soccer. And about 3.5 years ago, while I was still owner of the delivery service, I went to go meet a friend of mine at a coffee shop to pitch him on why he should invest in a soccer team here in Albuquerque. And I showed up at the coffee shop, and it was Napoli Coffee it was on Carlisle then, it's now on Manal. And I showed up to meet my friend. He wasn't there yet, but some guy was sitting over in the corner, he just broken his arm, so he had his arm in a sling, and he was growling, kind of staring at me, glaring like he wanted to fight me. I'm like, who is this guy? Well, it turns out he had the same idea, that he wanted to start a soccer team in Albuquerque. We'd had teams here before. Some of you may remember as far back as the New Mexico Chili's. This old guy played for the Chili's. And he had been around the soccer community his whole life, and those of you who are familiar with the soccer community here know that the soccer community is very tight, and everybody kind of knows each other. And he was trying to figure out who the hell I was, because I wasn't a member of the soccer community. I moved here 12 years ago, but I wasn't a member of the soccer community, and we didn't know who each other were. So the first meeting, we call it the blind date. Our friend had set up this meeting for us to meet, not telling either one of us really that we were going to meet the other person. And at first it was kind of a moment of, why are you trying to steal my idea? And so there was a little uncomfortableness about the meeting. And the next day, actually, we ended up meeting at Starbucks down the street on Lomas and Broadway, signed a non-disclosure, and that's how the Soul was born. But there was one problem. We didn't have any money. So we had to go find money. So that's how the Soul was born. We went out and raised a little capital. Unfortunately, at the time, we couldn't raise it locally, so we raised it from an investor from California. But we've been able to grow the team here in New Mexico over the last 3.5 years. But really, that's the story of how we started. We've been clear from day one about our vision. And our vision is to unite and elevate New Mexico. And we use those words intentionally, of course, through sport, through the world's beautiful game, which is soccer, or football is where I'm from in England is what we call it. We've been vocal about this since day one. If you've ever Googled a story about us, or you just Google us now, you'll find us talking about this 10-year plan that we've always had, that we've tried to stick to, and that we continue to stick to now. And really what started as, hey, let's start a soccer team. And I think what was cool about it is we see so many people in New Mexico that have an idea, and someone else has that same idea, and then those people work against each other instead of working together. I've always been a believer in co-opetition versus competition, and that was what was cool about meeting Larry, is we both shared the same passion, we both shared the same vision for why we wanted a soccer team. You guys, a lot of you have probably seen the talks on Start With Why and talk about your why. You don't hear us talk about soccer too much. You'll hear us talk about why we do what we do. And we do this for New Mexico. I love this place. I've lived all over the world. I love to travel, but I love coming home to New Mexico. We don't have traffic here. Okay, that's just congestion. Go to LA, go to Denver, go to Phoenix. That's traffic. We don't have traffic here. We've got beautiful weather. We don't have natural disasters. You guys know the drill. This is the 1 Million Cups community. We love living here, and we think that soccer can raise the quality of life here. It's not the do-all, end-all, but it could be a part of the combination to helping Albuquerque and New Mexico get to where she deserves to be. So what really started as let's just start a soccer team has now evolved into this kind of multi-headed monster in a good way, in where we've seen other, not really businesses, but we've seen other revenue streams kind of present themselves. So now we've got all these different silos underneath our business, and we're going to talk about those today. And then we're going to ask for your help in kind of defining the main question we have as to how do we grow to that next level that we need people like you to help us get there. So one of the silos of responsibility, and the screen kind of cut off one of the letters. That doesn't say EDIA, that says media. One of the silos is media. We've realized early on that our season is only 3 months. You can't have a sustainable business model just having revenue events 3 months out of a 12-month year. So we had to come up with other ways to generate revenue. We have a bi-weekly TV show called Soccer Talk with the Soul. It airs on Comcast 26. But again, it's an asset that we can then go out and sell to sponsors, bring on our existing sponsors, and then bring on people from the community. And then we put them on the show, we give them the YouTube link, they take it and put it on their networks, and it's a way to kind of for them to promote themselves through our media. We have a publication called What's Brewing. It's still in its beta phase. It's in about 20 coffee shops and breweries. Hartford Square has them. We have them in coffee shops and breweries around town. And it's about what's going on in the community, what's brewing in Albuquerque, what's really going on around town. It's content driven in the middle. We have articles with local people. A lot of you may know Hakeem Bellamy, Stacy Sacco, Tim Nisley, different people like that write articles. And then our sponsors have advertisements on the outside. This year, we've signed a deal with ESPN Radio. They're going to broadcast all of our games live on ESPN Radio. Again, that gives us another group of assets that we can then go out and sell. They also have a billboard on Paseo and Jefferson. So now we've got inventory on that billboard. It's a digital billboard. So we got inventory on that billboard we can now monetize. And we're currently, this is not done yet, but we're currently working on a deal to air 5 of our home games this year on My 50 TV. The foundation, I'm going to let Larry talk about this. This is more his baby.
So from the beginning, one of the things that we've made perfectly clear is that we give back. Giving back is something that's near and dear to both of our hearts. And it's really what it says over there. The difference between who we are now and who we want to be is what we do. So the Albuquerque Soul Foundation was created and it was established last year. But even before then, every game is dedicated to a nonprofit. We have opportunities for that nonprofit to monetize that, whether it be them pushing it out to their network with a code, and anyone that buys a ticket through, say, the ALS Foundation, $1 of that ticket goes back to the ALS Foundation. They have the opportunity to put a booth and push out their information and collect donations. We do a 50-50 raffle, and then we have a realtor that's a sponsor that sponsors jump castles where kids can go up and pay a couple of bucks to jump around, and all of that money goes to the nonprofit of each game. We took on something early where, because we're New Mexico, we want our dollars to stay in New Mexico. So we try to do as much stuff locally as we can and make sure that the donation dollars stay there. But in forming our own foundation, these are the 3 arms that we really want to do. We want to focus on health and wellness. We're a sports team. Okay, but again, we don't want necessarily childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, even though those are all important. There's a lot of dollars that get focused towards that. So we want something very, very New Mexican. Maybe it's child malnutrition. Maybe it's not enough kids having meals to eat during the summer. So we're working on that. We haven't quite figured that part out yet. Safe places to play. That's in conjunction with the U.S. Soccer Foundation. They take dilapidated tennis courts and basketball courts. They come in, they resurface, re-fence them, relight them, rebrand them. So we go out looking in the community for these places so we can put these so kids can go out and play soccer and have a safe surrounding area to do it. This one, Ron mentioned about it. Top of the bad lists, bottom of the good. How do we change it? Okay? There's very much what we call the poverty mentality here. I better spend every last bit of my check because they're going to take it away from me. Someone is. We don't know who, but they're going to take it away from me. How do we change that? So the way that we're working on partnering with a couple of third parties where they come in, they set up an individual development account where there's an initial contribution that's made by a financial institution, and then they'll do up to a $200 match year after year into that account by the child, so long as the child continues to take financial literacy courses. You can go up to 8 to 10 years, so it's not a lot of money, but anywhere between $2,500 and $3,600. That's a good start for someone to buy a car, buy a computer, pay for books, help offset tuition costs to go to college. So that's a foundation piece.
And the way you get them enrolled in the classes is we offer community soccer camps for free. So you go to economically depressed communities, do a free soccer camp. That's the shiny object. That's the carrot that you dangle. Come learn soccer with soul players. And then while the kids are playing, we're then talking with the parents about the financial literacy courses. Wholesale possibilities have come about now. There's only one real reseller for Adidas in all of New Mexico. So we saw an opportunity there. Also with our scarves, some of you may recognize the young lady on your right there. That's one of her soul sightings with one of our soul scarves in Rome at the Colosseum. The scarf thing kind of happened by accident. I don't think we have enough time to tell the story today, but it's what we call accidental success, where the scarf took off in popularity very quickly. It's become our number one selling merchandise item. People stop by our office to buy one now on the way to the airport so that they can take a soul sighting picture in a different city, because we post every single one on our social media pages. So we have now an opportunity. We've got a supplier of the scarves. We couldn't find one in the United States. There's a supplier out of Turkey. So there's a business opportunity for anybody that wants to knit scarves at a competitive price. We found that we've got a relationship directly out of Turkey with a manufacturer, so we can now be a wholesale distributor for these scarves, and people can use them to fundraise for youth soccer teams, for clubs. We can do that in our market. And then selling Adidas, it's not just soccer. There's volleyball, there's tennis, there's football, there's all these different sports that all schools and clubs all buy their uniforms for. Well, we can now go sell Adidas as a reseller of Adidas. The stadium, some of you may have seen this in the news recently. We've been talking about this for a long time. We've never really had a home. If you look at our schedule, which we have some schedules, by the way, up front here. If you look at our schedule, we have games at two facilities. We play at St. Pius High School, and we play at UNM Soccer Complex. But unfortunately, we don't have a specific home. So we talked about doing this. What we did last year was we funded our own feasibility study. And we hired a consultant to come in and do a full-on feasibility study. She did a 70-page report that came out. The results were very positive. From that, the city reached out to us and said, how can we help? There was a city councilor, actually, Dan Lewis, that reached out to us and said, how can we help? And we kind of turned the question on him and said, well, we don't know how to do this, so tell us how you can help us. And he said, well, we need to commission an economic analysis study. So that's being done right now. It'll be done, be completed in May. And that is, what is the impact of a facility like this on downtown Albuquerque, because it really needs to be downtown. We've studied other markets and the success of a multi-use facility. Again, this is not a soccer stadium. This is a multi-use facility. There's all kinds of different events that can be done here. Soccer, lacrosse, rugby are the sporting events, but you can have corporate events, you can have concerts, music festivals. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do events in a facility like this. And those are the different kinds of revenue streams you see up there. And then finally, the Youth Academy. Some of you may have heard of a guy named David Beckham. So David Beckham, probably the most iconic soccer player in the world. He started at 8 years old. He was recruited by Manchester United to go play in their youth system. They brought David Beckham up the Manchester United way. He trained in the morning. He went to school. He trained in the afternoon. He learned life, as I said, the Manchester United way. What happened is there was 100 other kids that were 8 years old at the time that they recruited. And most of them did not go on to be David Beckham. Most of them went on to be pro at something else other than soccer. But it's one thing that's proven about soccer is soccer makes better children. Soccer makes better kids. And those of you that have had kids that go through soccer or have nieces and nephews that have played soccer know it teaches them things that you can't learn in other sports. So the Youth Academy is now a concept that exists in many other states. New Mexico has never had one. And U.S. soccer basically almost hints all the time that we'll never have one. And we love people telling us you'll never have something because we'll do everything we can to go get it. And that's kind of what our mission is with Youth Academy. So this thing has got so many possibilities of how you could build it. You can build it into a charter school that's tied into the academy program. Kids can come from all over New Mexico and neighboring states to grow up in this academy. And you can have specific training in physical therapy, exercise physiology, on-hand culinary, like preparing food for athletes, because most of these kids are going to go on to be pro at something else other than soccer. And again, soccer, yes, is the product at the end of the day, but soccer is not the reason why we do what we do. This is the reason why we do what we do. So we're coming into year 4. We're excited. You guys that have been here before, you've seen us kind of grow the last few years, but we're just like you. We're another small business that has challenges, and we're looking forward, as my phone goes off, we're looking forward to taking questions and seeing how maybe ask you guys a couple questions ourselves. So thank you.